Hello Goblins, this is Julian.
And it's Tom.
And we've come back now to part 2 in learning Kings of War Armada.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea how to play this game, so Tom's going to basically school me how to play. And in this segment, now we're going to learn how to do the combat.
Best bit.
Yeah, surely the best part.
Yeah. Shooting people, boarding people, and crippling your foe.
Excellent. Sounds wonderful.
It's very good.
So yeah, I'll be playing the dwarves in this section again.
Yeah.
And you'll
I'm
be
going to play the Basilians,
right,
which is one of the human factions, for those
Mhm.
who don't know. And yeah, should we start from the top?
Let's go for it.
So there are a couple of different types of weapons in this game.
Okay.
So there are obviously heavy, light, close combat, and indirect fire weapons.
Right.
But there are also some special weapons in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like your ship, the dwarf ship, for example, has a flame weapon.
Right, okay.
Okay, and there will be magical items and magic involved in the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just as a basic profile of the ships, if you look at the Abyss, which is my large ship here, it has multiple different profiles around the ship. So the forward, the back, and the broadsides have different weapon profiles.
Right, okay.
So what's on your ship's profiles there, mate?
So on my Fury over here, we have on either end, on each side rather, we've got
Yep.
2 heavies, and then on the forward and the back, we've got 1 close.
Right, okay.
Okay.
So so you've got short range in the close, and then on the broadsides you've got heavy weapons.
Right. Yes.
So strong on the broadside, and you need to go up close, forward and back.
Okay.
Okay. Well, on the Abyss, as an example, he's got a load of different guns. On the front of him, he's got a heavy cannon. On the rear, he's got a large cannon. The light cannon.
Right. Yeah.
Large cannon. I wish it was bigger than the heavy.
The large light cannon.
Yeah. And then on the broadside, he's got 3 heavy, 2 large, and 2 close.
God.
And obviously, they've got different ranges as well. So
I feel slightly outgunned in this scenario here.
in this scenario, okay, but obviously, without going into super detail, he has a special flame belcher which could probably
Yeah.
set a light
He
to
has his own
his-
perks. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
with his specials. So, looking at the ships, they have arcs, which you need to be in range and you need to see your opponent to be able to fire. So,
Okay.
visibility is key to this game.
Right. Yes.
All right. So, if you're in the front or the back or the bow or the stern, and, then you need to use this template to quickly show your angle of fire. So, if it's in the front, I'm able to see anything that's in that arc. So, my handy little laser pointer here. Okay, so if it's wholly within that arc, I have visibility.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, if I was shooting at your smaller ship,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it just clips that back
Right.
edge there, just. Actually, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Well, let's
I'm lying.
hypothetically say
Let's
it
say
does.
it is. Yeah, so that would be a partial, so I would have a negative hit modifier.
Right. Okay.
Okay, because obviously it's not covering more than half of your base.
Right. I see.
All right,
So if it's
So-
more than half, you have no penalties.
no penalties,
Okay. So it's only when it's half or less. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and that's quite relevant. So that when it goes to the broadsides, for example. So let's say that my ship was facing this angle.
Okay.
The broadsides are not an arc like the forward or the back. They are a direct corridor of fire, like so.
Okay. So you got a straight line between
So it's a
the
straight
edge of
line.
both bases. Okay.
Okay, so again, if you are in that straight line, so let's say like this, I'm going to be able to shoot my broadside at you unimpeded.
Right.
If you were just poking out of it, that would be a partial.
I see.
Okay,
Okay.
so when you roll in your to hit modifiers, these visibility things do affect
Mm-hmm.
the range, the visibility, the size of your ship, and there are a couple of different ones.
All right.
Okay, so the other thing to think about with broadsides is also this special attack, essentially, which is the most devastating damage output in the game,
Okay.
which is raking shots or raking fire.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get your broadside, so you're crossing the T, as they call it,
Right.
where you're directly facing towards or facing away from the broadside in the corridor,
Right.
then it causes additional damage points
Okay.
to you.
Right. Interesting. So obviously you're getting like the weak points, so we're not going to be able to return fire, so you take more damage in this scenario.
You think
Okay.
about all of that firepower just raking across the ship because
Yeah.
the cannibals just keep on going, just
That's
keep on
right,
firing
yes.
through it, which is awesome. I love that because that's going to mean strategic movement is going to impact it massively.
Yeah, movement seems to be a major, major part of this game, obviously. It's all about the positioning.
Yeah, definitely. So the other things that could affect your modifiers to hit is your crew experience as well.
Okay.
So if you are a regular crew, there's no modifier.
Mhm.
If you're a veteran, +1 to that hit roll. Or if you're irregular or a newbie,
a rookie.
then it's -1 to hit. Okay? So the other thing that can affect it is also the size of a ship. So this being a large ship, if I was targeting your small ship,
Right.
there would be a penalty to hit you. So at the small size, it's -1 to hit you.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's also a tiny ship size,
Mhm.
smaller than this one,
Wow.
and that'd be -2 to hit you.
Wow. Okay.
Okay? And it's the same as it was before with the skill tests. So with the skill test, if you're new to this video, you roll a d10, and you need to get greater than a 6, plus or minus your modifiers.
Oh, okay. Right.
So with this, for example, I would have massively missed.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I've not had much luck.
But I'd be rolling a lot of dice at you.
That's right. Yeah. You've got more than the one weapon, obviously.
Yeah, so we won't go into massive detail and break down all of those different modifiers for you, but I'll give you a rough idea of what happens, and we'll do an example and just see what happens when I shoot it.
Okay. Very well.
But you can shoot me back as well.
I'll see. I'll try. I'll
You
try.
try.
I don't know if I can do much damage to that giant ship you've got there.
I'll use
but
a smaller one, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Keep the playing field here.
Yeah, I want to fire the Abyss first, though, it's awesome.
Okay.
So we'll bring this ship back in. So it's not a raking fire.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So as an example, we'll just run through the example. Let's say the wind is coming from this direction,
Mm-hmm.
so my ship would get to activate first in the
Okay.
turn.
Yeah.
Okay, I would move my 4 inches. Just pass us that tape measure there, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So I'm going my 4 inches forward. And then I would make my turn at the end of my movement. The back of the ship. Okay, I'm
Now-
just trying to get into broadside.
Now, do you have to wait until you've done your full movements before you fire?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you don't. And we'll get to that because that's a special type of shooting where there's additional minuses to hit.
Okay.
So this is a standard shooting. So
Right.
move, and at the end of that movement action, I'm firing.
Okay. Right.
All right. So let's say here, with this ship against your ship, it's not a small ship,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm clearly in the broadside corridor.
Yes.
Okay. No obscurity there at all.
No.
Okay, so if I look at the Abyss, it has 3 heavy, which have a really long range of 20 inches. You're well in there.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like you're in 8 inches.
Oh.
Okay, so here I'm going to have to shoot 2 close weapons because their range is 8,
Mm-hmm.
2 light weapons because their range is 14,
Right.
and 3 heavy weapons because my range is 20. This is devastating
It
broadside.
sounds awful for the Devouring Fury ship at the moment, but yeah. Okay, so
So-
you're going to need some extra dice for all.
Yeah, they
all
have
that
different
firepower.
dice colours and stuff like this. So heavy weapons are blue dice, light weapons are red dice, and close quarters weapons are black dice. So in this example of shooting, he's directly in the corridor of my broadside, and I've got 3 heavy, 2 light, and 2 close combat, 2 close range weapons.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's going to hurt, man. So 3 blue dice for the heavy,
Mistakes were made.
2 black dice for the close, and 2 dice for the light.
Okay.
All right. So let's just say I'm a regular crew. So right now I need to hit you on a 5. Okay, so
Right.
it's 5 for regular, 4 for experienced, and rookies are 6. Okay, so I'm just going to be rolling this. You're not within point blank range, and you're not in long range because you're about 8 inches away from me, the closest point. So there is no other real interactions here because you're a medium ship. If you were smaller, again, there would be minus penalties to this dice roll. So it's a very straight up roll. So here we go. Okay, so still some misses. So there's a 1, a 3, a 4, and a 2. I'm going to miss.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't have any bonuses
Good.
there.
I like your dice rolling.
So
You've got one of each weapon, though. Nice.
one of each weapon, nicely.
Excellent.
Conveniently for this example.
Almost as if it was planned that way.
So yeah, they're above they're above 5. So the light weapon. Now we look at all of those different damage types because these have hit. There's no armor saves in this game.
All right.
It's not like 40k
Okay.
where you get to go on a 3+. I'm a space marine. I get to ignore your damage. I've now inflicted a number of damage equal to the type. So the light weapon does 1 point of damage. The heavy weapon does 2 points of damage, and the close weapon does 3 points of damage.
Right. So you've got one of each there. So you'll total up to 6 points of damage there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I missed with over half my shots.
That's not nice.
So as an example, that ship has how much HP?
It's got 30 health basically.
30 health.
So
Still a chunk, isn't it?
it's still a chunk, yeah, absolutely. And you rolled poorly in that sense. So-
Exactly. So it could have been devastating, that could have been. So he would have put his damage tokens onto his card. We're just showing them there. So once you've fired a weapon, you mark it with a token to declare that that ship has fired that arc of weaponry. Because during your action, you can fire all of your different weapons
Right.
at any point during that movement.
So you can pilot straight into the heart of someone's fleet and just go weapons free.
Weapons free is like just firing everywhere.
Okay.
So
That's very cool.
which is what you would do with a ship of that size.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
You know. So let's say I was at battle speed because I did one movement there.
Okay.
If I were to then do my second movement, I could potentially move and then turn again. So I go another 4 inches forward and make another turn. And potentially have a pop shot at the small ship.
And my little hunter here. Yeah, okay.
Of the little hunter.
Very nice, very nice.
So
I see.
this, I think, is going to be a long shot. It's definitely going to be a long shot.
Yeah.
So 8, you're about 16 inches away, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay. Which means you're within the 20-inch range of the heavy weapon that I have on my front arc.
Wonderful.
Convenient.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Almost as if it was planned. Again.
So I have one heavy weapon for this shot. It's going to be a long one. We also have modifiers in play now.
Right.
Okay. You're a small ship.
I am a small ship.
We're outside of long range. So long range is outside of 10 inches. So a -1 to hit from that. And then minus an additional 1 hit because he's a small ship. So I'm going to roll 1 dice. Needs to be a blue one because it's heavy.
So you are going to need now 7 or more?
A 7 or more.
Right.
Yeah, 7 or more because my normal stat would be 5 being regular. So 7 or more. It's a 9.
Well done.
Hey. So no armor save as well. So that would be 2 damage straight
2
off.
damage straight. Now, bear in mind, this little hunter's only got 15.
Yeah.
Right? So that's already a significant chunk for this little ship.
Yeah.
You know, and that's only just a single cannon firing at it. So
Yeah. At long range.
at long range.
And
bear
was
in
really
mind.
lucky with that roll.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. There's an example that you can shoot multiple weapon profiles during your movement. We're going to show what happens with this other mode of fire called Fire Issue Bears.
Right. Okay.
This seems to be my favourite because this is the reactionary fire as well as when your ship can move and still fire during its movement.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Right? So with your ship here,
Okay.
you want to try and make the most impact number of shots on my ship.
Right.
So you want to try and get your broadsides into range.
Of course. Yes.
Okay. So if you want to do your turn,
Okay, you can pass me a little turning
doodad.
doodad, yeah, the technical terms. So in this scenario, I've swapped out my Fury for the Grimstone. Okay, so what I'll do first is I'll shoot with my front
Yeah.
cannons. Okay, so
Awesome.
this one's got a 2, heavy 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so some 2 dice, as you said. So what is the value I need to get in this scenario?
So, well, what happens here is because you've got 2 movement activations.
Mm-hmm.
So during your first one, you can move
Okay,
and then shoot.
right, yeah,
Yeah. So you'd be able to get your fire
that's right,
from
yes.
your front weapon.
Okay, so let's just measure that out just quickly for... Okay, so does it matter that it doesn't matter that a little part of it's out, as long as more than 50% is in, correct? For when
So-
it comes to the front?
Yeah. In this instance, I can see that more than 50% of it is in the arc, so there'll be no
Perfect.
penalty.
Okay, excellent.
If it was a little bit less, it would be -1 to hit.
So this would just be a straight up dice roll here now to hit?
Yes, because you're not within 3 inches for
Okay.
close range.
Mm-hmm.
You're not outside of 10.
Right, okay. So on 5s, is it?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, wonderful. A 4 and a 2.
Lovely. I'm happy with that.
Brilliant. So no damage so far.
No damage. So he's fired his front weapon.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, as I was in battle speed for my second movement, I'll choose to try and get one of my broadsides in action there. So I'll move
Yeah.
over. I've got a movement of 4.
4. Yeah.
Okay, which I can measure out over here. As so. Right, so now I want to fire my broadsides at you.
So basically, you can fire at any point during your movement, but it has an additional -2 to hit
Right, okay.
while that's happening. So sometimes you might just get certain angles.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, like let's say he was a bit more turned, and then you just managed to get into that broadside, or the broadside was part of the movement.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get the angle, and then you move past.
Right, yes.
So to avoid any of the modifiers or whatever it might be, you would fire at a point during the movement and then carry on the movement.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
You stop when you declare that you're going to fire.
right.
All right,
I
fire
see.
as bears.
Okay.
So in this instance, you're firing as
So
bears.
hypothetically, there could be maybe a friendly ship, or there's be an island if I in between us. If I was to move my full movement, so I'll
Yeah.
decide to shoot just before.
Could be a rock or something in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, so I've moved. There's a penalty now for
Yeah. So it's -2 now because you're
-2.
moving as you bears. So you're
Okay.
moving during a manoeuvre. essentially.
Right, I
Firing
see.
during manoeuvre.
okay. So my broadsides are heavy 4. So it's 4 dice here. I
Oh
got
God, Julian!
a single 7.
Look at this roll. 1, 1, 2, and a 7. Hooray!
Yeah, this is me and Tabletop War Games
Yeah.
in one quick summary.
Yeah.
So that's a single heavy hit.
A single hit. However, you were +1 to hit me because I'm a large ship as well. I forgot to
Okay.
mention that. So large
It
ships are
still
+1
makes
to hit.
no difference.
No, it
with
definitely
my
doesn't.
rolls.
No.
But it would have meant that on a 6.
Yeah. So this 7 would have got -2 down to a 5, but +1
Yeah.
back to a 6.
That's right,
So
yes.
it's a success.
Okay.
All right. So then you would have scored 2 points of damage because they were heavy cannons.
Okay, yes.
All right. So there is another example of fire as she bears,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool.
All right.
So let's say that during this scenario, your ship passes through my broadside arc,
Right.
and my ship hasn't yet activated.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So if it's not activated yet, it's not fired those broadsides yet. They're still loaded.
Mm-hmm.
So I can pick a point of your movement, and I'm going to declare fire as she bears
Right. Right. Okay.
as a reaction
yes.
instead, which is the only source of out of activation firing that I've seen so far in the
Mhm.
game. So then I would then roll my attacks against you.
Right. Right. And obviously, when it comes to your activation, you've already fired that weapon, so you cannot fire that one again. You'll have to fire one of your 3 others if you were to fire
Yes.
another weapon.
Yeah. So let's say I had fired the 4 and this side and not this broadside, I could still fire it during fire as she
Yeah,
bears.
yeah.
All right.
Very interesting.
Which is
Very
pretty
tactical.
cool. I like that.
Wonderful.
I
Yeah.
like reactionary stuff out of activations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's one other type of shooting for the basic stuff, which is the indirect fire. So we'll quickly demonstrate that. I'm going to pack 2 ships together. And in this scenario, it's my little ship here, which is the gun brig. And the gun brig. The gun brig has this large cannon on its prow, which is an indirect fire weapon. They have the longest range at 22 inches.
Wow, okay.
So,
yeah.
It's impressive range. So let's say I was going to try and fire at the front ship there, because that's the only thing I've not mentioned so far, is because we've been doing examples with one ship on one ship. If there's multiple ships involved in the conflict, you cannot shoot any ship further than the closest. So you have to shoot the closest,
Right.
unless you are a veteran.
Okay.
Okay, if you're a veteran, you do a skill test to determine if you can then shoot the other target.
So that's where, again, another level of the tactics in the movement phase comes into play. Wow, very interesting.
Which is really cool. So you could bait firing out, protect your smaller ships with your larger ships, perhaps, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But obviously you're paying points for different skill levels of your crew. Okay, so it comes into your army building. So for the indirect fire, so the gun brig has 1 indirect fire shot.
Okay.
Just the one.
Just the one.
Okay.
Which you'll hit.
But if it hits, it's big damage. It's D6 damage.
Oh, wow, okay.
So imagine like a mortar or some sort of really large missile or something that's firing out of it. So in this example, you are not outside of long range, because you are about 8 inches away, so it's 10 inches is long range. You're a medium ship, so there's no issue there. I've not been firing as your bears. Let's say it's just I've moved to that position, so there's no modifiers. So I would need to get a 5 or more. I get a 4.
Wonderful.
So he's locked out. Now, if it did hit, it'd be doing D6 damage to you. Now, with the indirect fire, I now need to scatter the weapon.
Right.
Okay. So, which I love template weapons and things like this.
Yeah.
This is their equivalent, Mantic's equivalent of that. So you have to, basically the round travels in the point of the dice.
Oh, that's
So
very
the dice is
interesting.
pointing that way.
That is very, very clever.
You like that?
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that in any game before.
No.
Wow, nice.
It's nice, isn't it? And then D6, so it's going to go 1 inch in that direction,
Okay.
which will just go splash into the water.
Interesting. Interesting.
So it had the potential to maybe clip your other ship,
Yeah.
or one of mine.
Now, if you were to fire at the ship, hypothetically, and you can't see him, right? I'm assuming being an indirect weapon, that's an option.
Not that I've seen.
Ah, okay.
They're just heavy hitters, long range. But you would, for example, if I was a veteran crew, I would be able to roll a check. And if I pass my skill test, for example, let's say, okay, I'm a veteran crew. I failed my skill test. But if I roll a 9, I might pass that skill test and then be able to shoot the ship past the first one.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay.
Okay, so that's basically just your gunners a bit trigger happy, but your veterans know when to wait
Yes.
on what targets to search for.
Yep. Unless you roll a 1.
Unless you're all the one like that. So there you go. So that's basically a brief little synopsis of your firing, your different weapon profiles, certain damage profiles, and we're going to quickly come back and show you how to do boarding. Alright guys, we're now going to show you boarding. So for this example, I've got my medium ship Alohi, which is going to be attacking the Fury, and we're going to be initiating a boarding action. So I'm just going to show you the movement to demonstrate, because you can't initiate a boarding action if you're going at full speed,
Right.
but you can at any other.
And if I was going full speed, you wouldn't be able to engage in the boarding action either, I presume.
Well, you've already had your activation,
Okay.
so I'm assuming that that's not the case.
Right.
I think it's while you're moving that speed.
Right. Okay.
So with this one, okay, the Alohi's got speed 5, so it will go zip forwards and knocking everything over with my dice there. So then it's got a red on its turning angle. So not to go the full thing,
Okay.
just so I don't collide with you, basically.
Essentially, yeah, you want to avoid a collision, as we've learned
Yes.
in the previous video.
Especially considering we're both like the same size category.
Yeah.
So then my other 5 inches. So basically, I can now initiate a boarding action at the end of my movements if you're within 3.
Okay.
So now that I've finished my movement, I'm now initiating a boarding action. To do so, step 1, I'm going to be grappling the opponent. I need to make a skill test.
Okay.
So in this example, we're going to be rolling the dice, and it's literally just a 6-up to score that grapple. I succeed.
Very good.
Yep, perfectly on the nose there with a 6. So when you cause that grapple, as long as your opponent, your opponent isn't grounded. If you were grounded, like if you were a sandbank, if you collided or something,
Right.
I can't move you.
Right.
But once the grappling is completed, you then align. So we have to basically come together so that they perfectly touch each other as centered as possible.
Right.
Without interrupting as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if there's like a rock in the way, then we would need to move a bit further forward
Okay.
to finish it.
So we move both players, and
Ships.
unless, as you stated, unless one of them's grounded, then only one of them will be moving towards.
Yeah, so let's say this bit of rock, maybe he's in the way, we both just missed it. So if we were to just come together there, we'd hit the rock. So for this example, we would literally just come least possible resistance, basically.
Okay, perfect. Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
to initiate that boarding action. So both those ships are now aligned. Now that they're aligned, we then make our attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are a couple of different modifiers on the attack roll, and if you are the engager, aka you like a charge bonus essentially,
Right. Yeah.
you've initiated the boarding action and you've grappled and pulled them in, you're fighting first. But you essentially get +1 on your modifier.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you're a veteran crew, you get a +1. Again, just like before.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're inexperienced, you get -1.
Right. Okay. I see the pattern coming along here. Then.
Yeah, it's similar. And the other thing is to think about if your ship is already like in a surrendered state, which can happen, then you're on an additional -1 to hit back as well.
Right. Okay.
Well, these attacks are resolved at the same time, and they're based off your crew strength stat.
Okay. I see.
So,
Yes.
my crew strength stat on the Alohi is 4.
Mine in the Fury is 3.
Okay, so I would roll 4 dice, and you would roll 3.
Okay. We roll
Remember,
simultaneously.
A success in this skill check is a 6.
Right.
Okay, so I have +1 currently. Let's say we're both regular troops.
Yeah.
All right. So at the minute, I'm scoring a success on a 5.
Okay. Yeah. 2 10s and a 6. Wow. Okay. So I take it this is a good roll. You've
Yeah.
got 2 10s and a 6 here. What have you got there?
Right, so just to explain this, I had +1 to my roll, so I only got 1 success because the 5 goes to 6, and the 6 is a success,
Okay.
so 3 misses.
I bet you're regretting this decision now.
I am, yeah, because I did 2 damage, so for each success, you do 2 damage.
Okay.
However, if you score a 10,
Mm-hmm.
which you've just done 2,
Wow. Okay.
you're going to double that, so you're going to do 4, 8,
Wow.
10 damage to me.
Nice.
So
I like boarding.
Yeah, so that was foolish with me there, because I've just taken way more damage than I've done to you. So 2 damage to his 10 there. Ouch. So once you've instigated that boarding action, that's the end of my activation.
Okay.
We are now both classed in the anchored state. So we start from the anchored state.
Right.
So let's say your character hasn't activated yet this round.
Mm-hmm.
So when you activate, you have 2 options. You can prepare to repel borders,
Right.
or attempt to disengage.
Okay.
So I know you just rolled well there.
Yeah. I don't don't like my chances of rolling there again. No.
Yeah. So if I was undamaged there, my health is like nearly halved from that really ruthless boarding action there. But I'm not quite under half strength. So the other thing to consider is if you go under half on your ship's points, you're then counted as crippled, which means you halve the number of attacks you make for your crew. So half your crew strat,
Okay.
half your shots rounded up,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
Right. Yes.
And you're more likely to surrender. So
Interesting.
yeah, so here we go. So in this example here, would you like to try and disengage, or would you try and repel?
I'd like to try and disengage, seeming as You do outnumber me with the dice, so
Yeah.
I don't like the chances of me rolling 2 crits again.
2 crits again, yeah, it's pretty spicy. So with that disengage, you need to make another skill test.
Okay. Are there any modifiers then to this dice roll?
So currently there's not, because I'm not surrendered at the minute.
Okay.
So you basically make a skill test. On a 6, you pass.
Right, let's see. I roll a 1. My luck has drained.
So you failed that one.
Yes.
So he's now forced to repel borders.
Okay.
If he'd passed, he could then move away from me because he's broken that boarding action. Okay.
Right, I see.
Yeah. Maybe pulled off the grappling hooks and on your way you go.
Manoeuvred my way out.
Okay. So then we'll roll again.
Okay, yeah.
My crew strength is 4. Your crew strength is 3.
Let's see if I... Not so lucky this time, I'm afraid.
A 1, a 2, and a 5.
That's 2 fails straight up.
Yeah, and then I've scored 2 hits and 2 fails there.
Okay, so I'll take 4 points of damage in this case, and you'll take another 2.
And I'll take 2, yeah. So in this case, because I'd taken that severe damage before, that would then make me in under half my SP, which are my ship points, my life points essentially. As soon as you hit under half, you're then counted as crippled.
Right.
Okay, so the ship has been crippled.
Okay.
So next
I like
time, so maybe you knock my mast down, or you killed loads of my crew, or whatever it might be. But when I then, how that affects me and how it affects crippled ships is you reduce a lot of your stats by half. So if I were to then do another combat action against you, I'd be halving my ship, my crew points. All right.
Yeah.
As well as some of my shooting as well would be reduced.
Okay.
All right.
Rounding up, I'm assuming then.
I think it would be rounded up in that situation.
Yes.
But when I activate my ship, as soon as I've gone to that point, I then need to do a nerve test, which is where I make a D10, and I would have failed my nerve test.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so if I fail my nerve test, my ship basically surrenders.
So that means out of the game straight up?
Well, it's not out of the game. He's still there.
Okay.
But so, like for example, if you wanted to continue to fight that grapple,
Yeah.
okay,
You would now have a better.
I'd have a negative to hit against you because my crew is surrendered.
And you probably won't affect me if I decide to shoot if you're the closest unit.
Yeah.
And other items.
And so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, I can't then activate that ship to shoot or anything like that, but it's there, and you could ram into me. I could be an obstacle, block line of sight,
Right.
that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Interesting.
So yeah, surrendering the ship, it's not counted for points in the scenario, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's an interesting mechanic there with the nerve tests. But there are certain things with crippled as well. So yeah, you halve your strength, your crew strength, you halve your weapons, and you also can no longer travel faster than battle speed when you're crippled. So like your masts might have come down or something like that. All right.
Very good.
Everything.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So it's like that's the combat basics for you guys. There are a lot of more nuances and different mechanics in the game. All right, well, I think we've shown you everything there about basically like combat actions and nerve tests, grappling, boarding, and all that jazz. It was pretty devastating, the boarding, wasn't it?
Yeah, especially when you roll crits.
Yeah. So there's going to be some interesting mechanics in this game. I'm really excited to get into a game with you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the next video we'll do is probably like a basic game where now you know how to play. Hopefully you guys do too.
Yeah.
We can then have a game and show you how it looks. Have a little battle report.
I look forward to it.
That'll be awesome.
Great.
Catch you next time.
As I'm an engine, as opposed to sails.
We'll be right back.